It's late at night. You step outside your house. Everything feels completely normal. You look up at the full moon, and then it vanishes. Not behind a cloud, not during an eclipse. 1 second it's there, the next it's gone. You stare at the empty sky. You blink. You rub your eyes in disbelief, but nothing changes. The moon is still gone. And in that moment, one question comes to mind. What would happen to Earth if the moon suddenly disappeared? Surprisingly, nothing. At least, not at first. The ground doesn't shake, the oceans don't suddenly flood the land, and Earth doesn't go flying off into space. In fact, if you weren't looking at the sky when it happened, you probably wouldn't even know that anything had changed. But don't let that fool you, because while the world still looks the same, it has already started changing. The first change would arrive later that night. Without the moon, our nights would become much darker. Although the moon doesn't produce its own light, it reflects enough sunlight to brighten the night sky. Without that light, the sky would suddenly feel much darker than we're used to. For stargazers, though, this would actually be good news. With no moonlight washing out the sky, countless more stars would become visible. Even the faint dust lanes of the Milky Way would stand out far more clearly from dark locations. But while stargazers might enjoy the view, nature wouldn't. Many nocturnal animals rely on moonlight to hunt, navigate, and survive. Sea turtles use it to find the ocean after hatching. Some birds use it during migration. Predators and prey have evolved around the natural brightness of the night. With the moon suddenly gone, their world would suddenly become unfamiliar. And while life on land struggles to adapt, something even bigger is already beginning to change. Our oceans. Have you ever wondered why the oceans rise and fall every single day? It's because the moon's gravity is constantly pulling on Earth's oceans. As Earth rotates, different coastlines pass through these bulges of water, creating the high and low tides we experience every day. Without the moon, those daily tides would become much weaker. The sun would still create tides, but its pull isn't nearly as strong. Without the moon, Earth's tides would lose around 2/3 of their current strength. That might not sound like a huge difference, but for coastal ecosystems, it's massive. From tiny shellfish to larger coastal predators, countless species have evolved around the rhythm of the tides. As the tides weaken, these habitats would slowly begin to change, forcing countless species to adapt. Humans wouldn't escape the effects either. Some ports that depend on high tides could face new challenges, as large cargo ships require enough water beneath them to safely enter and leave harbours. Larger ships would need much more careful planning before entering or leaving shallow ports. But even after changing our nights, confusing wildlife, and reshaping our oceans, the moon has been quietly doing something even more extraordinary. Something that's been protecting Earth for billions of years. But protecting it from what? Surprisingly, from becoming a far less stable world. It all comes down to something most of us never even think about: Earth's tilt. Our planet is tilted by about 23.5 degrees, and that tilt is what gives us the seasons we experience every year. But Earth's tilt isn't perfectly fixed. It slowly wobbles over time. Think about a spinning top. At first, it spins almost perfectly, but the moment it begins losing its balance, its wobble becomes more and more noticeable. Earth behaves in a surprisingly similar way, and for billions of years, the moon has been helping keep that wobble under control. That stability has helped keep Earth's climate remarkably consistent, giving life billions of years to evolve and thrive. Without the moon, that invisible protection would slowly begin to disappear. Not tomorrow, not next year, but over thousands and eventually millions of years, Earth's tilt could become far more unpredictable. Some regions could experience much harsher summers, Others could face much colder winters. Climate zones would slowly shift. In some parts of the world, polar ice could retreat. In others, it could continue to grow. Entire ecosystems would gradually be forced to adapt. And eventually, so would we. This might sound like science fiction, but we already have an example: Mars. Unlike Earth, Mars doesn't have a large moon capable of stabilizing its tilt. As a result, its axis has changed far more dramatically throughout its history, leading to major long-term climate changes. Our moon has likely spared Earth from that same level of instability. But that's still not the end of its influence. Every single day, its gravity continues pulling on Earth's oceans, raising tides around the world. As those tides move, they create a tiny amount of friction against Earth's surface, slowly reducing our planet's rotation. In fact, the length of a day increases by about 1.7 milliseconds every century. It's far too small for any of us to notice, but over hundreds of millions of years, those tiny changes slowly add up. Without the moon, that gradual slowing would almost come to a stop. One thing that wouldn't happen, though, is Earth drifting away from the Sun. That's one of the biggest misconceptions. Earth stays in orbit because of the Sun's gravity, not the Moon's. So while the Moon disappearing wouldn't destroy our planet overnight, it would quietly change Earth's future in ways that would unfold for millions of years. For billions of years, the Moon has been quietly shaping our world, not by shining down on us every night, but by silently keeping our planet stable. And most of us never even realized it. So, the next time you look up at the Moon, remember, you're not just looking at a giant rock floating through space. You're looking at something that has quietly shaped our nights, our oceans, our climate, and even the stability of the only home we've ever known. It's strange, isn't it? The things that protect us the most are often the things we hardly ever notice. But here's something I'd like you to think about. If the Moon really disappeared tomorrow, what do you think humanity would do first? Would we spend every resource trying to understand what happened, or would we already be searching for a way to bring it back? Let me know what you think. And if you have another what-if question you'd like us to explore, leave it in the comments. Who knows? It might become the next theory. See you in the next theory.